Monday, May 19th. Could you please call the roll?
Alder Wood.
Here.
Alder DePula.
Here.
Alder Rademacher.
Here.
Alder Kugel.
Here.
Alder Bernstein.
Here.
Alder Holmquist.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from May 5th?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I have a second from Teresa. Any changes, corrections, additions to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. That takes us to D, the appearance section. First of all, I just want to say welcome to everybody that's here tonight and that's interested in speaking or listening. We really appreciate community participation and we're glad to have you all here. Second, what I would like to say is, in case you haven't been through an appearance section before, an appearance section is done solely for us to be good listeners. So we will not be responding to any questions, and we won't be getting into any conversations up here. It's just going to be about listening to you, to whoever wants to speak, and making sure that everybody's cards, if you're not speaking, are entered into the register for tonight's meeting. Everyone has a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. So when you're called to speak, we'd like you to come up to one of the two microphones here at the front of the room. State your name and your address, and then you go ahead and speak for 3 minutes. Okay? So with that, I have.
I'll just go with these first, Mayor, and then read that one in, and then we'll read
Yeah.
those names.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with, we have several piles here, but I'm gonna start with this first pile. And the first person that I'd like to call up is Sandra Homburg, who said she'd like to speak again. So are you turning your time over, or?
I'm turning my time over.
You're turning your time over,
Yep.
okay? So that's Sandra Homburg. And then, so we'll just, when we get to your person, because it's not necessarily in order. So the next person to speak is Kim Miller of 4602 Waterman Way. Kim, would you like to speak? Okay.
That doesn't work.
I was just curious.
Can I speak from here?
No,
No.
he's on the microphone now.
There was a request, and I granted that request, so
I was only asking as
Yeah.
a point of understanding
Yeah.
how that
Yeah.
worked.
go ahead, Kim. The
I'm
floor
Kim
is
Miller.
yours.
Yep.
If
Kim
you could
Miller.
lean into the microphone, just so
Kim
we
Miller,
make sure.
4602 Waterman Way. Thanks for hearing us out today. We moved to Waterman Way in 2012, knowing that we were we were on a waterway. Last year, a sanitary lift station was built right behind our backyard. It was a year of construction every day. And now relocation of well one will go directly from what we hear in front of our house. Sort of hit the jackpot there. I can handle change, and I can give up my personal comforts, the aesthetics of our house, if it's done with a purpose of making the lives of others better, for environmental benefit, providing efficiency, and something that's fiscally sound. I am questioning all of these in that what I hear is all of this is planned to make room for a new city center. I voted for the last referendum. I want to support our police department, public service employees, the fire department. However, if this plan pits a new city center with clean and healthy water for our citizens, it makes me feel bad I made this choice. I'm also, this plan could throw our residents of our neighborhood and beyond, from what I have learned, in geological and environmental, some chaos. I'm just hoping that there's a better plan for this well. Thanks.
Thank you, Kim. Next up, in my pile, I have Carrie Bradley, 611 Clear Spring Court. Speaking against. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, for letting me speak. And thank you for listening especially. So I need to get closer here. My name is Carrie Bradley and I live at 611 Clear Spring Court. I have concerns about the public health and the loss of green space with regard to the proposed well number 4 on Waterman Way. I recognize our community needs water, but the Waterman Park site might not be the most suitable option. I think there's going to be information shared tonight, additional information that was shared amongst our neighbors about the site that might make it less suitable. And based on that information, I'm concerned that there may be unforeseen risks to our safety, our financial stability, as well as the risk to the overall well-being of our community and its citizens. And I know that that's why you're all here. My one that wasn't 3 minutes reading really fast had a lot more front-loaded. And since you said you're not going to cut me off right away, then I will share. I really do appreciate the time and the commitment and the service that you guys do to the city of Monona. And I do not come here lightheartedly. This is information I think that you need to hear. I'm glad you're willing to listen. And like I said, I really do appreciate what you do for me as well as my community. So thank you. Let's see. I do want to kind of do a little timeline for you in the sense of not that long ago. Okay, so I'm a resident of the city of Monona. I'm also a resident of the Monona Grove School District. And not long ago, voters supported to approve a school referendum to increase taxes for operations. After that, the city of Monona also had a referendum to increase taxes for operations. And these increases aren't for one-time costs, as you know, right? They're for ongoing costs and are carried into the future. And based on our experiences in the last decade, I think that any real property tax relief from the state is unlikely, and that we will all continue to carry that tax burden forward. And as said before, I have supported. I understand you need to be competitive, you need to pay people, we need to educate our children, and the funding needs to come locally because it's not coming from the state. So I definitely acknowledge that. But I also have a concern that this burden will be carried forward, and these are challenging and difficult times for city residents like myself to consider taking on new costs. We have recently retired, and the market has been fluctuating, and I'm sure you're well aware of the decisions people are making around making sure they have resources to do what they need to do, including paying their taxes and paying for their city services. From what I have learned, if I understand correctly, well number 1, currently located on the Civic campus, has been selected for replacement, but it is functioning properly and is about the same age as well number 2. Now, as expected, maintenance costs will likely be necessary to continue for it to perform. There's not that there's a cost associated. It also sounds like the need to replace that well was created by future plans for improvement of the Civic campus. So moving forward with a more costly new well at Waterman Park, before you have approval for this campus, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine there's a process as you move forward that will involve debt, and voters would need to support that project as well. So part of my concern then is that if you move forward with the well, before those plans and financing are more firmed up, that we might be sitting with fewer trees in a building in Waterman Park, because if I understand, right, and not get the new building we're planning on having.
Yep.
as the timeline unfolds.
So as you might imagine, that beeping was your 3 minutes, so if you
Okay.
could work your way towards and that would be great. Because we
Perfect.
can't give everybody,
Yep, and actually, I'm just getting to the end here, so
Yeah.
thank you.
yeah,
Like I said, I understand the additional costs of the new well are going to be put on our water bills.
Mhm.
So this isn't only about paying our property taxes, it's for paying for our city services. And I'm really concerned about the increase in cost of services beyond what is absolutely necessary. And perhaps the increases could be reduced or avoided if you consider another option other than putting in the high-capacity well. And I can be done because I was going to express appreciation at the end, and I did it at the beginning. So thank you kindly,
Thank
and I
you.
appreciate
Thank you, I
the beep
appreciate
heads
it.
up.
Next up, Greg Simonis. Speaking against. Welcome.
First, we'd like to, I say we, my wife and I, Brenda, lives at 4600 Waterman Way, right across from the Waterman Park. We'd like to thank you for putting a pause on this particular project, the proposed well number 4. We are opposed to putting a new well in this location for a number of reasons. One, at a meeting last summer, the Public Works Director said that the water usage is down. 2, well number 1 appears to be functioning and not failing. So there doesn't seem to be a fire to put out or an urgent need for a new well at this time. So moving forward with an estimated $2.6 million well with no testing or sampling done seems highly questionable. We also recently received a notice from the Department of Public Works that a chip sealing work that's going to be done this summer. However, we've received no notification on this well project, which is of a much higher magnitude dollar-wise and project-wise. There are many red flags regarding health and safety contaminations that put at risk not just our neighborhood, but the entire city of Monona, which we think should justify removing Waterman Way Park as an option for putting this new well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Matthew Hirsch. Against? Welcome.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Matt Hirsch. I live at 4536 Winnequa Road, right next to Waterman Park. I'm concerned for the health of the Monona community with respect to water quality and the new well being considered for Waterman Way. To share a quick anecdote about water quality I'm sure we're all familiar with. About 25 years ago, the city of Madison worked to replace all the lead pipes across the city. It was a very contentious project, and when I look back at what they did, I'm very proud of their work, what they accomplished. I look to it as a guiding example of the amazing contributions people in public service can make. There's so much that goes into running a city, and it's a grueling, thankless job. You might think I'm here because I don't want a well near my house. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to thank you and hopefully to inspire you. To keep the health and safety of Monona at the forefront of your mind. To do hard things, to keep doing hard things. I love Monona, and because of dedicated public servants like you, there's a lot about Monona to love. Parks, schools, community events, all great things. All that is nothing without basic health and safety needs covered. So please keep our health in mind as you consider what to do, whatever it is, about the water needs of our city. Don't cut corners. Don't make sacrifices to suit other needs. And make us proud. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Ralph Bradley, speaking against.
Good evening, and thank you for the time and opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Ralph Bradley, and my wife Carrie and I own and reside at 611 Clear Spring Court. Tonight, I want to be commenting on plans for the new high-capacity well in Waterman Park and our personal experiences with this question, impacts to the community for lost parklands, and existing flooding, drainage, and high water table near the site. Our property would likely suffer the most significant and immediate impacts within the community as our house fronts on Waterman Park, closest to the proposed well site. And will be very close proximity to the well number 4 location, proposed location. Carrie and I have moved frequently for our professional careers, and we were fully expecting that Monona would be our forever home. In 2020, as we were approaching retirement, we initiated the search for where we would spend the rest of our lives. And when we found our current property, we fell in love with the lot and the immediate neighborhood. It was the lot itself that really sold us on the property. The views, trees, and tranquil, peaceful setting made us understand that we had found home. Prior to purchasing the property, our realtor spoke with representatives from Monona City Government and were informed there were no current plans at that point for development in Waterman Park. We moved forward with purchasing and developing the property, which was a major investment for us. Because of drainage and water table issues, we applied for a zoning variance to move our house forward beyond the 30-minute setback limit, and we have a 19-foot setback limit because of those issues. We were approved for the zoning variance. That now puts us into closer proximity, even closer to the proposed well site, and making it extremely close to our home. The bigger issue, though, is the loss of park and green space on the larger community. Sitting on our porch on a summer evening, we see many community members enjoying the park by playing together with their pets or just walking through the beautiful park with an ice cream cone from the shop on the corner. Monona has limited potential to obtain any new green space, and that should make us protective of our existing parks to improve the quality of life for the entire community. Poor drainage, flooding, and high water tables also need to be considered for any new well site. The DNR permit applications, from what I understand, specify that there is no flooding in the area, and this would seem to relate to existing flood maps. But a more careful review of the site would show that the north corner of our lot, bordering Waterman Park and within less than 50 feet of proposed well buildings, routinely floods and contains standing water. The north corner of our lot is the lowest point on the entire block, hence all properties within the block drain to this point, including Waterman Park itself. And nearly all of Clear Spring Court roadway drains to a single storm drain at the mouth of our driveway. The significant rain events routinely overrun drain capacity with overflows across the front and back of our home, eventually collecting in this north corner. In addition to floodwaters, the water table in this vicinity is very high. This afternoon, the water table stood at just 4 feet below grade, and that will be higher following the forecasted rains over the next 2 days. We kindly ask that our city leaders take these points and others being shared this evening into account before determining to move forward with placing an unnecessary, expensive, and high-risk well in one of our city's prized parks. Thank you again for your time this evening.
Thank you. Constantine.
So he's going to take my time.
Okay. Again, I don't mind extending a little bit, but please don't take all 6 minutes.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Constantine Soros. I live at 4604 Waterman Way. I'm here tonight to speak against this proposal. I want to thank you all, though, for your time and ability to speak out tonight and have you listen. There are several reasons that I'm against this proposal. Primarily, there are several known contaminant sources and potential contaminant sources within the site review area and also within the capture zone of a 1,500 gallon per minute high capacity well. One of these reasons, which was just recently mentioned, for Waterman Way, the water table is roughly 4.5 feet below ground. It's a very high water table, which makes it susceptible to contaminants. Also, within 100 feet of this proposed well is a dewatering well that existed for years, if not for decades, that could draw down or has likely drawn down contaminants within 100 feet of this proposed well. Contaminants from the roads, be it oil, gas, or other spills, and also salting operations. Decades of salting operations probably has contributed to sodium levels within the groundwater in that area. Sodium is a concern for folks with things like hypertension and cardiovascular heart disease. Also, this well, the dewatering well, has not been secured over the years, so we don't know if it's ever been tampered with. There's a leaking underground storage tank within 600 to 800 feet of the proposed site. This underground storage tank has residual petroleum, soil, and groundwater contamination and does not meet the NR 811, DNR's NR 811 setback requirement of 1,200 feet. Also, there's a second leaking underground storage tank within a quarter mile. Also, there's a major lift station, as Kim recently mentioned, within 300 feet of the proposed well. It obviously carries a large capacity of human waste, and if that were to fail, there would be problems. Also, there's a solid and hazardous waste generator within 600 feet from the proposed well site. Once again, this doesn't meet the 1,200-foot setback. Also, there's a dedicated larger hazardous waste generator within a half a mile of the site. And most significantly is there's a large tetrachloroethylene PCE plume that's emanating from a dry cleaner release on Monona Drive. This dry cleaner release has moved off-site. It's moved toward the proposed well location to just over 1,200 feet away from the proposed location. We know that the PC contaminants has migrated downward into the bedrock and deeper into the aquifer to nearly 200 feet. The PCE levels at that nearly 200-foot level exceed the drinking water standards. If you install a high-capacity well at 1,500 gallons per minute, there's a very likely occurrence that it will start to draw in some of those contaminants, and then residents of Monona will be drinking impacted PCE contaminated water. To date, there's been no hydrogeological testing, soil borings, monitoring wells, or piezometers for this proposed location to investigate this potential. Also, Madison has well 9, which is approximately half a mile away from this dry cleaner release, which has had PCE contamination impacting this well, that well. Similarly, constructed to nearly 800 feet, this well 9 has been impacted with PCE for over 30 years. So we know PCE is a persistent contaminant that can migrate downward within the aquifer. Also, the drilling of this well, again, is going to be 800 feet. And as prior testimony mentioned, there's homes that are within 50 to 70 feet. You drill 800 feet into bedrock. That drill rig is going to be operating probably for weeks at a time. There's potential for foundational damage to our nearby homes. Also, regarding the PCE treatment costs, to go back to that, PCE, if you needed to treat, is going to be millions, probably $1 million investment for treatment, and ultimately tens of millions of dollars over the lifetime of the well for operation and maintenance. You need likely granulated active carbon to treat, which is an expensive proposition which needs to be replaced from time to time. Also, there's 2 other dry cleaners located on Monona Drive in proximity that have not been investigated. They're just historical sites that could also potentially be contributors in the future. Nearby residents like Wanakee, who has a similar PCE levels in one of their wells, rather than to treat, is opting to drill a new well and relocate. And in this situation, we would potentially be doing the opposite, drilling a new well with potential impacts to PCE. So with that, also I need to mention there's the potential for PFAS contaminants, that well 9 has PFAS contaminants. There's many communities, the city of Madison has both TCE and PFAS contaminants that cost can run $5 to $6 million to install treatment. So one thing I just want to highlight as well is that in regards to the well site investigation report that was submitted to the city, there were several of the points I made today that have not been highlighted or observed in the report. One is what I just mentioned about the deep aquifer PCE contamination, the known potential contaminant sources within the well area and the zone of influence. The unabandoned dewatering well in the park was not mentioned. The flooding within 75 or 100 feet of the proposed well was not mentioned. And also some of the historical record of Waterman Park in terms of their park designation has not been mentioned. Then lastly, I just want to mention that in 2019, the Governor Evers declared the year of clean drinking water. And also the House and representatives for the state also toured around the state and affirmed the interest in clean drinking water for all of our citizens. It's a primary goal for all of us. Lastly, I want to thank the mayor for pausing this process so citizens of Monona can provide important information like we're gathering tonight and about this important issue which affects all our citizens who are interested in safe, clean drinking water. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. That takes us to Andrew Homburg. If you could try to stick close to 3 minutes since.
I'll do my best.
That'd be great.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for expressing that. You're here to listen deeply. We found out 4 weeks ago tomorrow, quite by accident, that well number 4 was a thing. We, prior to that, had no knowledge or communication from the city or any of the city's consultants. We discovered it because there was a surveyor in our yard digging up our property irons. And when asked, he kind of brushed Sandy off and said, let me back up. My name's Andrew Homburg. I live at 610 Clear Spring Court, on the corner of Clear Spring Court and Waterman Way. I've been there for 31 years. For a decade prior to that, we lived next door at 612 Clear Spring. So we're pretty deeply familiar with the area. We had to chase him down, get the name Durbecker off the truck. I called Darren Pope, whom I know. I've got almost 50 years of experience in the construction and development industry. And said, why are you guys surveying our property? And he said, oh, that's for well 4. I said, what is well 4? And, you know, all this came to surface. Process is a difficult thing. I've served on committees for the city for years. I understand the complexity of making people aware, but this is a big deal. It's a significant impact on the entire community, and in particular on the north side here in the Waterman Way Park community. There are a lot of reasons that this is an inadequate place. There's an inadequate room. There are environmental risks that pose risk to not just our neighborhood, but the entire city. If this thing comes online, 800 feet deep, high capacity, 1,500 gallons per minute in the Mount Simon sandstone layer, it has the potential to draw these contaminants into it, as Dino indicated. None of the reports that we researched indicated any of that language. The leaking underground tanks, the PCE contamination, the PFAS in well 9, this is risky stuff. We feel it's an inappropriate place because you're taking an existing well number 1 that functions. I hope it tests out. I hope we're testing for these compounds and know that we have safe water in 1, 2, and 3. If we're not, we ought to. 2 is only 2 years older. We've been told that it's an old well and needs replacing, but there's nothing wrong with it. It just needs a little bit of routine maintenance, and if it's drawing clean water, we're in a pretty good place. There's no risk to change here, or no rush to change necessary. In some of the documents, it was stated that this is a road right-of-way for Waterman Way. I believe that to be false. I researched through the title company that I work with, the original plat of Tony Watha Springs replat Block 4 indicates very clearly the entire portion on the east end as park, where the park presently is, as well as the future Waterman Way right-of-way. In 1955, Pearl and Bob Koss, some of you probably remember them, they're a Monona family. They platted the Winnequa Park plat that included the half-dozen homes on Waterman Way and Midmore. And at that time, they dedicated a 60-foot right-of-way, which is a standard right-of-way for both Midmore and Waterman. And the balance of what they didn't take for right-of-way remained that original 1911 park. So process was flawed here as well. Somewhere along the line, someone made an error in a map, but I don't believe that it is accurate, that we're just taking right-of-way and we're not eliminating park. And from a functional perspective, in my watching this park for 41 years, it is a park. It's green space. It serves the needs of the community, and it functions wholly as a park. To place this in the midst of it would be, I think, a huge diminishment of the neighborhood. There are some details. We're trying to put 10 pounds of well into a 5-pound bucket, and I believe the bucket is leaking. There's proximity of sanitary sewers. There's proximity of sanitary manholes. There's this dewatering well. Our rationale for waiving those setback requirements of 200 feet to separate contaminant sources, effluent, human waste, from our drinking water supply have been reduced to as little as 60 feet for a sanitary manhole that's right out the back door of the proposed well site. Now we can spray liner in that, we can do cast-in-place liner in the sewers. My company does that type of work, but it's not infallible. Having 200 feet of soil to go through if there's a failure is way better than going through 60 feet of soil. So I would contend that those waivers should be scrutinized. I don't think it's appropriate to waive them. As stated before, the groundwater is only 4 feet in the ground. There are 2 active springs in the neighborhood. It was put in the applications that there were no springs. I know they're there. I've stood and watched them. That's why the dewatering well is there. Now, it's no longer bubbling right out of the ground like it used to back when it was the spring that fed the hotel. But it's still there below the grade. That's what's pushing this water table up to this 4 or 5 foot range. I'm probably at 3 minutes.
Yeah, I was wondering, did you?
Just 3
Okay.
minutes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you. Feel free to be, Julie Anderson. Julie Anderson, 616 Harrisburg.
Hello. I am in opposition of the proposed Waterman Way site for a new well. At this point, the city has not been transparent in their plans for a new well and continue to proceed with their plans for a well to be located at the Waterman Way site. They have already spent money on this and are continuing to spend money without any kind of input from the citizens of Monona, nor have they informed the citizens of Monona what the cost of the new well will be and how it will affect them. The estimated cost for a new well is $2.6 million. Payment for a new well would be through an increase in our water utility rate. Other than the Waterman Way site, I am not aware of any other options that the city has come up with. There would be a substantial savings if well number 1, the city complex site, were to remain open, but it appears that the city wants to close that down for their new administrative complex renovation. The current wells, located off the Beltline, on Bridge Road, and the city administrative complex blend in well with their surroundings and are located in commercial areas. The proposed Waterman Way site is currently a park and is in the middle of a residential neighborhood, a beautiful greenway space. How does a municipal building in the middle of a neighborhood affect our property values? This is a low-lying area and at times has standing water. There are health and contamination concerns, drill testing concerns, and setbacks from property lines and streets are not adequate. This simply does not appear to be a good site, and a lot of questions need to be answered. Currently, I'm very disappointed with the city as you continue secretly behind our backs, paying out monies, and proceeding quietly under the radar, hoping that the process goes far enough that you don't have to answer to anyone. I'm very confused on what the city's process is, and if this is vital to the quality of our water, shouldn't we all be informed? This is a major expense, but you haven't informed the citizens in your community what it's going to cost. And so I'm just going to end with, I think that you really need to clarify what that process is and how we will be moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ann Wellman, 4529 Winnequa Road.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ann Wellman, 4529 Winnequa Road. We gather here tonight to address a crucial issue that affects the very essence of our community, the natural water resources of Monona. This is not about any other project that has diverted us here. Our focus is singularly on safeguarding our water future. In 1945, my parents purchased what is now known as Lamboli Cottage, a symbol of Monona's historical connection to its natural environment. Built in the early 1920s, it stands as a testament to a time when our lakes were central to our community life. My father was drawn to the area by a promise of excellent fishing and natural beauty, a place steeped in natural and local history. Historically, Lake Monona has faced significant water quality challenges, primarily due to urban and agricultural runoff and nearby industrial activity, past and present. Starkweather Creek, for example, has been a substantial source of phosphorus, contributing to issues like, and I hope I'm getting it right, cyanobacteria blooms and elevated E. coli levels. These problems have led to numerous beach closures, such as the 48 closures recorded in 2019 alone. In early days, utility infrastructure was sparse, with utility poles stopping at Winnequa and Tonawatha. The remnants of the past, like shards of Hotel China found in neighborhood gardens, hint at Monona's historical allure, epitomized by the Tonawatha Springs Hotel. This hotel, built to capitalize on local artesian wells, attracted visitors seeking the healing properties of these waters, an area respected by indigenous groups long before European settlers arrived. These artesian springs once fed springs that flowed through the marshlands that now goes to Schluter Beach, creating a vibrant ecosystem. My mother often recalled the incredible soundscapes of blackbirds and frogs during those early springs. Our natural landscape with its numerous springs continues to support vital habitats for fish and waterfowl. We are a close part to the Nine Springs area. We live where the water table surfaces to rejuvenate our natural waterways and resources. Today, significant threats loom over our natural resources. Urbanization has introduced high concentrations of PFAS in nearby Starkwater Creek, leading to fish advisories. Moreover, major metropolitan sewer lines run perilously close to our waterways, risking further pollution. Let us also include Roysters, Garver Feed, Central Storage, and Clinkies that have leftover forever chemicals behind. Waterman Way Park, which serves as a natural filtration basin for Lake Monona, was initially donated for public enjoyment according to the records, yet it has evolved, raising concerns about its current role in utility infrastructure. The proposed money, again, different amounts, relocation project demands through scrutiny. This expenditure translates out to roughly about $800 a person in Monona and must align with Monona's mission for fostering and welcoming equitable and sustainable community. We must explore alternative solutions that respect both our fiscal responsibilities, environmental stewardship, and ensure future public safety. Our collective actions today will shape Monona's future. We must ensure that our natural resources are preserved for generations to come, not compromised by short-sighted development. Let us work together to protect our heritage and ensure a substantial and sustainable future for Monona. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Okay. Now I have one statement that I'd like to read into the record, and then I'll read the rest of it. This is a statement from Caroline Frabance. To the City of Monona regarding proposed well number 4. Appreciate the delay of the project that I understand was promised, but disappointed in the lack of transparency by the city about a large project that will change a well-used, beautiful park, and not in a good way. More importantly, I'm concerned about the hydrology of the area with PCE plumes and other contaminated areas, as drinking water safety is of utmost importance. As taxpayers, we should all be concerned about the expenditure of millions of dollars to create a well when we have a functioning well that does not require replacement. Amendments to the existing well would be cheaper and easier than ruining a park in a neighborhood for a well that is not needed. This is far more than a neighborhood concern, as a new well would raise water usage rates for all Monona residents, as well as likely raise taxes to pay for the unneeded and potentially dangerous well. Respectfully submitted, Caroline Frabance, 4525 Winnequa Road. And finally, reading into the records, I have Karen Bridge from 5206 Mesa Road against. Kevin Litwicki, 4510 Waterman Way against. Tom Evans, 4602 Waterman Way against. David Thompson, 611 West Dean Ave against. Dave and Signe Thompson, 611 West Dean Avenue against. Brenda Simonis, 4600 Waterman Way against. John Anderson, looks like 616 Clear Spring Court against. Fran Pfefferkorn? Yes. 618 Clear Spring Court against. Tom Pfefferkorn, 618 Clear Spring Court against. James Webendorfner, 605 West Dean Ave against. Mark Keepers, sorry, 615 Clear Spring Court. If I've mispronounced names, I apologize.
There's two
Every
more
my
two more
best.
registered against, yep.
Okay. Greg Black, 620 Clear Spring Court, against, and Peggy Black, 620 Clear Spring Court, against. Okay. With that, don't believe we have anybody on the
I believe so, Mayor.
screen? Nobody on the screen?
Who is Olson?
Sorry?
Does he wish to speak?
Is there anyone on Zoom who is here to make an appearance for tonight's meeting? Okay, terrific. Again, I thank you all for coming. And we'll keep you posted. Really, as I said, we really appreciate community input, and I thank you for taking your time for coming tonight. And you're welcome to stay if you want to hear the rest of the meeting. It's up to you.
Thank you.
With that, just wait a minute or two until. Okay, with that, I'm going to move to number F. There is no consent agenda. That takes us to G, council action items, unfinished business. Number 1A, consideration of resolution 25-5-2803, award of contract for 2025 street resurfacing project from the Public Works Director. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Do I have a second? I have a second. Does anyone have any additional?
I do believe Director Stefani is on and
On
available
if
to
anybody
answer
has any
questions.
additional questions about this? No one? Okay. Then this requires a roll call. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Alder DePula.
Aye.
Alder Rademacher.
Aye.
Alder Kugel.
Aye.
Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Number 1B, convene in closed session under Wisconsin statute section 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or the conducting of other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This is a closed session around the Monona Pines Development Agreement and Accurate Appraisal Contract. My first question to you all is, are there any questions around this? We obviously had a closed session around this at the last meeting. If we have no questions and there's no need to go into a closed session, then I won't call for a motion. So does anybody have any questions? No?
Has anything changed about the TIF agreement, development agreement?
I don't believe it has.
Then no.
Nothing has changed. Okay. Then we won't bother to convene in a closed session or reconvene to an open session. And that takes us to number 1D, consideration of resolution 25-5-2806, approving a development agreement between the City of Monona, Monona Community Development Authority, and Monona Pines 2 LLC, brought forward by the Community Development Authority. I would take a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a second. Any questions that are not? Okay, hearing no questions. Again, this requires a roll call.
Sorry. Alder Rademacher.
Aye.
Alder Kugel.
Aye.
Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Alder DePula.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Doug. That takes us to number 1E. Consideration of Resolution 25-5-2804, amending the 2025 operating budget for assessment services, brought forward by the city administrator. This, again, needs a motion.
Move approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any questions about this particular item? Again, hearing none, this requires a roll call. Will Clerk, please call the roll.
This hasn't changed since the last time either.
No, that is correct. Simply the format has been put into the city's standard format by Attorney Cole.
Right.
But the financial details are, essentially it provides additional detailed information that were similar that were provided in the previous contract are also now included in this contract. But the financial ramifications are.
Thank you.
This first item is just the budget amendment, though, not the contract.
Right.
That is correct.
Exactly. This is the budget amendment, not the contract. So, again, this requires a roll call. If the clerk please call the roll.
Alder Kugel.
Aye.
Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Alder DeCullo.
Aye.
Alder Radmacher.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Then we're to 1F, consideration of resolution 25-5-2804, approval of an updated contract with Accurate Appraisal LLC for property assessment services, brought forward originally by the city administrator. Once again, I need a motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
and I have a second. Any questions?
I do.
Yes.
Where is the updated contract?
Actually, it was emailed about, I think about 4:15 today. We noticed that the original was included in the packet that was sent out in materials by Director Kimball, but the updated contract was emailed.
Doug,
There's no substantive changes.
No, essentially, it's just detailing it, just kind of incorporating the specific scope of work that was incorporated in the proposal into the actual contract document, which didn't have previously, but our previous format did include that, so Attorney Cole simply went back to our format to make sure that we're addressing all of those deliverables.
Neil, in Leah's note, actually it was your note, sorry, came from you at 5:29, if you're looking for it in your inbox. You mentioned, Neil, the cost is identical, but there is additional detail in the scope of services which has been added.
Yeah, that is actually I think in previous ones, they had just simply attached the proposal as an attachment to the contract. But the previous contract and now this contract, it actually takes that scope of work out of the proposal and actually incorporates it directly into the contract.
Okay.
So that's the only change.
Any other questions? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Bernstein.
Aye.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Alder DeCullo.
Aye.
Alder Radmacher.
Aye.
Alder Kugel.
Aye.
The motion carries. Then we're going to move to number 2, new business. Consideration of 2025-2026 Class A fermented malt beverage and Class A liquor licenses for Los Paredes, Monona LLC, 6001 and 6005 Monona Drive, brought forward by the License Review Committee. Did you want to present on this?
Briefly.
Thank you.
This is the store next to the grocery store. I'm not sure what it's part of the same building.
The
So-
restaurant portion?
Yeah, yeah. But the license, right, correct, I mean, covers the entire premises, correct? Both buildings, both of those. They just wanted to request, they already sell beer, package beer, they wanted to be able to sell package liquor, and it's like a very modest amount of, I think we're talking about a 4-foot by 6-foot set of shelves. So like 4 shelves of, specialty liquors that focus kind of on Latin America. So, but this is for next year's license, so we don't need to do anything with it tonight.
Yep. Okay, all right,
We
thank you. Any
don't need
questions
to-
for Doug?
I do have a question. I'm wondering, it would be on page 13 of the, 14 of the packet, where it has the application that was filled out by hand, and there's a Class A license for 500, a Class A beer license for 5, a liquor license for 5, but then when you look to the right, the license fee adds up to 1,100. So I don't know where that $100 is coming from.
They were late, so they were charged an additional $100.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we move to the next item? Again, this is new business, we'll be coming back at the next meeting. Okay. Okay, number 2B, consideration of resolution 25-5-2808, approving an updated stormwater management plan brought forward by the Public Works Committee. This is starred for immediate approval. Can I have a motion to suspend the rules and take it out of order?
Motion to suspend the rules and take it out of order. Can we have a reasoning?
I'll second
Yes.
them, second that, and then
Yeah.
Mr. Brune, can you explain why this needs to be started tonight, please?
We just figured that there's nothing controversial about the plan itself, and we are looking to file our reimbursement request with the DNR for the grant that was funding this project.
We get our money faster,
Yeah.
is the short version.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we're voting now on whether to approve it on one read. Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct.
Yeah, it's just, it's a state statute required
Mhm.
document, so there's nothing,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a very big document.
Mhm. Okay. So I have a motion to suspend the rules, that's in a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Opposed?
gotta call for
I'm
nays.
going to
Sorry.
also register in opposition, just,
Okay, let's do a count. All those in favor, say aye.
wait.
I think Rachel had her hand up.
I was going to do opposition as well. I didn't vote for it.
Okay, so that's why I'm saying I'm going back to the ayes so that we can count. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Raise your
Aye.
hand if you say aye.
Aye.
2 people, 3 people say aye.
That's
Okay.
3-3. Yeah.
And that means, and opposed? 3 people opposed, okay? I'm gonna break that tie and,
Excuse me,
It's actually,
point of order. I think the requirement is a 2/3 majority
To take it out of order?
to take it out of order.
Okay.
okay? Thank you, Rick.
It's on every time. I didn't know that.
Okay, so we're not gonna take it out of order, so what would you like to know, Brad? What would you like to share about this, since we're not gonna approve this tonight? We're not taking it out of order, what else would you like to share about this plan with the committee at this point? With the
I
council?
guess I can give just a brief update, and if you guys have any questions, we can go from there. How about that?
Perfect.
Mhm.
All right. So in 2014, the city wrote its first stormwater management plan, and since then, the official plan document itself has not been updated. We've added some documentation to it. It's not to it, but in supplement of it. In 2018-19, Strand did a Reach 64 technical memo. It was basically an update of our stormwater models, which track the amount of suspended solids and phosphorus that is discharged into local waterways from storm sewer systems within the city of Monona. And then in 2020, 2021, we had a DNR audit of our stormwater program. Out of that audit, we had some suggested and required revisions and or additions to the existing program, and we updated the city's procedural manual, and we updated the ordinance at that time. So those are kind of supplementary documents as well. So we had a lot of little documents and things kind of hanging out there, just asking to be incorporated into a more comprehensive plan. And then also the DNR requires, periodic updates of any master plans, stormwater master plans that the city has. And so it's been 10 years. And we decided this was a really good time to get that updated, seeing as we had to update our stormwater models anyway. With the pending Kelly Place Stormwater Project, the huge underground wet detention basin that the city is installing this year, we thought it was pertinent that we did this first, updated our models, troubleshooted and truth checked everything up until and before we started designing such a huge and expensive project. And so we did that using a DNR grant in 2024, and we have just recently finished updating that plan document, including all of the models that go along with it and everything else. And this is all required by the DNR, like I said, and it's also part of our requirements to show progress for the adaptive management program that we currently participate in financially through Yahara Winds, which is intergovernmental collaboration or cohort that helps us meet our DNR and EPA clean water requirements. So there's nothing earth-shattering changing with this document, if that helps appease anybody's apprehensions. There's no call to action necessarily in this document. There is a very high-level implementation plan. There's a list of potential projects for future projects that would help us get to the city's goals for phosphorus and suspended solid pollutant reductions that are necessary, that are required of the city. It lays out our procedures. It calls for who is responsible for what at the city, whether it be committees, council, mayor, or staff level. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's what it is. It is a plan document. It helps guide the city's stormwater program. If I was to leave, or Dan was to leave, or Jeff was to leave, the three, primary managers within the Public Works Department, this document would be there to guide whoever came to replace us moving forward. So that's pretty much what this is. I can take any questions. Feel free to ask. The topic is very, very broad and yet very intricate, and I have as much knowledge as anybody that I know about it. So go ahead, throw it out there. I can answer.
And this was also approved at the Public Works meeting?
It was.
Yeah.
That is correct. Sorry. Yep.
Could I just? Oh.
Yes.
Brad, thank you so much. Just for a point of order, I only voted against taking this out of order just so that it would be on the agenda 2 times. I didn't, I see nothing concerning in this document. That was not the reason I voted as I did. It's just a very large document, and folks in the community who missed the Public Works meeting may want to look at it. Also, Brad, I don't know how many people you know, but I would agree you know a lot about stormwater, maybe as much as anyone you know. But I had a wonderful conversation with Brad about this document. He answered dozens of my questions, not because I had a concern, but just because the more I read, the more interesting it became to me, and I kind of nerded out on some of the areas, and he just has a fantastic way of describing things.
You thinking about a second career in stormwater
yeah.
management? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Rick?
Brad, I did go through the document, and it's really very technical, so there's only so much a layperson can get out of it. But when I read it, it seems like the city is doing everything it can, considering its resources and staff time. And even though the need kind of outstrips what we can do, we're doing everything we can. I mean, would that be a fair summation as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, Alder Bernstein, I'd say that's definitely fair. Yeah.
Cool. I guess what I would ask, though, is do you have any suggestions in terms of how to approach this document, considering so much of it is so technical for the layperson like myself?
Given the fact that this is it's not a feel-good document necessarily. It is very cut and dry, and it is to the point. It's scientific. It's procedural, right? It lays out processes. I guess if anybody was confused by the jargon and or the charts and anything else that's in that document, especially modeling data or otherwise, how we go about getting the information we do and how it's analyzed within the document itself, feel free to reach out to me. I, have lots of time, and I can,
You only have three kids?
I will nerd out with you if you feel like you have questions. And honestly, if you want to just pick my brain and dig into it, I would be happy to do so, because it goes above and beyond what most people would care to do. So, and that's absolutely.
Would one or two alders be able to get together with you and kind of, like you said, pick your brain?
Yeah.
Do you mean to save him from repeating himself? Is that what you mean?
Basically, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it would behoove us, I think, to learn a little bit more about what the city and municipalities and counties all have to do to try to reclaim the lakes, which are, from what I understand, getting worse rather than better, despite all our best efforts. So I would certainly try to take advantage of something like that.
Yeah.
And on Alders, I would recommend certainly focusing on the executive summary to start. It's about 28 pages of this. That's still a lot of data and a lot of tables, but definitely kind of hits at a very high level.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's just how to approach the document. I would certainly start with that, Alder, and then as you get down in the weeds and some of the other sections, that'd be probably a good time to hit Brad up for some questions.
Okay.
So.
Yes.
I would just mention that if multiple alders are going to meet with Brad to discuss it, then it probably needs to be noticed, right, at the same time.
If you get
Depends
more
on
than
whether
three,
it's a quorum,
three or
if
more.
it's two people. If it's just a couple of alders that are interested, then it doesn't need to be noticed. If we get into beyond that, then it would need to be noticed.
Sure.
And I would just ask, given that it is project season.
Yeah.
That means that, contrary to what Brad just said, he doesn't have any time.
Right.
He's already working overtime.
Yeah.
And so it might not be the best time
Well,
to
I think-
dive in. I mean, I would just
Brad's a
ask.
grown man. I think he can say this isn't a good time, and we'll respect that and try to work better into his schedule.
Wasn't suggesting that, Rick. I was just suggesting that we want to be cognizant of that, since this is a particularly huge season for him at the moment.
Yeah, I get you.
Yep. Okay. All right. So we are not suspending the rules. We're moving on from the discussion, unless anybody has any other questions for Brad. Okay. Brad, thanks for hanging in there tonight.
Absolutely. It was enthralling. I had a great time. Thank you, everybody. Have a very good.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to H. Reports of committees, commissions, boards, mayor, city administrator, city attorney, department managers, sustainability efforts, and diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. Teresa, I'm going to start down at this end.
I have no report.
Patrick.
Parks met on Wednesday, and we discussed, high-level discussion, 2026, 2030 capital budget discussion, and some tentative priorities, but nothing in specific detail, so that conversation's gonna continue to happen. We discussed the nutrient management plan for the athletic fields. It was enthralling. Just to use that term again, no, and also had a 2025 operating budget update, which was solid, and that was largely driven by increased programming fees with the after-school program and whatnot just continues to grow. I think there's 158 registered families in that right now. Continues to grow, continued growth opportunities. But one of the major things we discussed was the credit card fees and how that's impacting the program. So in the move to try and get folks to use ACH transfers instead, and then continuing to look at different providers to lessen the credit card fees. That's it.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Patrick. Brian?
I was trying to pull up my calendar to look here. Let's see. Public Works meeting, you saw the agenda items because we voted on one of them, and one was the first read this week. Plan Commission met just prior to this meeting as a special meeting because we didn't have quorum at our last Monday's meeting, and it was an extremely short agenda, but it was to approve one occupancy permit piece. ZBA, we had two applications last week, and both those applications one was approved with limitations, and one was denied. And we have CVA upcoming on the 27th.
Thank you. Rick?
We're setting dates for the Senior Citizen Committee meetings. We're going to meet in time to go through the budgets. I'm working with members of the Sustainability Committee to work on promoting a solar panel group buy. It'll be managed by Maddie Sun and Renew Wisconsin, but we're just trying to throw in, maybe do a little extra promotion specific for Monona through our various channels. Also, I have been working a lot with racial covenants lately as my other side job, and there will be an event at the Alliant Energy Center June 17th for people who have racial covenants on their property. There'll be an event where you can go in, Dane County Planning will be there. They'll find the covenant on your deed and they'll help you file a release.
Oh, that's cool.
So for people in Monona, that could be a lot of properties. So there'll be a lot more publicity on that coming up June 17th. Also, as part of my other side job, we're working on a series of historical markers, and we're approached Deb Whitehorse about having a marker in front of her house in honor of Harry Whitehorse. I think the Dane County planners will approach the city and work out the details on where that marker might be placed, but that's in the works.
Great, fantastic stuff. So, Rick, just as it relates to the covenant release, what I would say is that, having just written some articles today, the newsletter, the e-news, is being put together by Will as we speak and is set to be published on Wednesday. So in order to get this information, I would highly recommend.
About the program?
Yeah.
June 6th, 17th?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you'd like, yeah, we'd happily put that in the newsletter.
You'd have to put it in the
I'd say just
newsletter
email Will.
pronto.
So email Will.
Yeah,
So,
we'd
yeah,
love to put
and
that in.
it's
We'll
like
get
less
something
than
in the
200
next couple
words.
days. I think they're still firming up the timeline. I mean, they have the date, but they don't have the exact times, but
Yeah,
we
but
could at least give a little promo
Yeah,
so
exactly.
people
Save
can
the
look
date,
for
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
I think that would be great, and also, same thing as it relates to WVMO. It's one of our greatest channels, so doing a little PSA, and getting that rotating through.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
probably be a good thing
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Because we
those are
know
fun.
for sure that there are quite a few people in Monona that have
It's about
that on their
1,000.
deed and they don't even realize it.
Yeah,
you
there's
know.
approximately 600 homes in Monona.
In Monona.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Rachel?
I don't have any updates.
Great, thank you.
Nancy, could I'm sorry, I actually did have an update. Is that all right? I just wanted to say
Okay.
one thing.
Go ahead.
I know. Transit, some really interesting stuff. Our contact at Madison Metro let us know that between this month and the last month, there have been about 500 more rides on Madison Metro, and and that really just comes to about 15 per day of the month, right? But most of them are coming from Monona and Flom, also Monona and Broadway. And so these are people that are, just really taking advantage of Metro finally opening its doors on Monona Drive. There are also increases throughout the city center here, but I only point out that those particular two locations have seen a tremendous increase. And Madison Metro as a whole is seeing its highest ridership ever. It's back up to it's higher than pre-pandemic levels. So just wonderful things coming out there. So,
Is the 500 more rides just on the
Rides.
Monona
Just the
route?
Monona stops.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
no, that's
Anything
including the
that
G and L.
Yeah, anything that goes down Monona Drive. So before we had that contract, the doors never opened on Monona Drive. The Madison Metro just plowed right past us. And so now that it does, more people are getting on. But the Monona Drive stops are the most popular stops. Yeah.
But Brian, just to clarify, G and L stops in Monona are included in
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's what I
it's-
mean, that it's
Right.
like the Monona and or Flom, to
Yeah.
Monona, that would be the G and L.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe you're referring to like the neighborhood stops. Is that what you mean, Rachel? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just asking, like, is that just an increase in stops in Monona from month to month?
It is. It is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lean?
The Board of Reviewer hearing for assessments is June 18th at 6 p.m. So if you are looking to contest your assessment, make sure you reach out to me 48 hours prior, so June 16th at 6 p.m. is the deadline for that. There's still time to discuss your assessment with the assessor. Go to their website to set up an email open book appointment, or if you have questions, give me a call.
Thank you. Neil?
I'd pitch out to the chief, actually, if I could.
Oh, sorry.
Uh-oh.
Well, here, I asked her earlier today if you were coming tonight, and then,
Hello, council. The mayor asked me to come in tonight. No, the mayor and I met, and we talked about a variety of topics, and one of the things that we discussed was the immigration policy, violation policy for the police department. And so, for those of you who aren't familiar, or for those just tuning in, we've reviewed this before. It's always relevant for me to bring up topics that are crucial for this community, and so just bear with me. I've got like 2 short paragraphs I'm going to read from our policy. Our policy is published online. 99% of our policies are. The ones that aren't are law enforcement officer safety related, as it relates to public safety, to include things like how we respond to bomb threats, for example. So the vast majority of our policies are online. At this point, you can just Google Monona Police Policy, and it'll take you right to the policy. The immigration violations policy is under policy 413. If you're looking at it on PDF, it's on page 297. And so I'm going to start reading from, I think, what most people have inquired about in the past, and something that the mayor and I discussed, and it's something that we discussed with event organizers and other persons that are hosting events here in Monona, business owners, etc. Federal requests for assistance under 413.6 under our policy. Requests by federal immigration officers or officials for assistance from this department should be directed to a supervisor. The department may provide additional the department may provide available support services such as traffic control or peacekeeping efforts. 413.7, information sharing. No member of this department will prohibit or in any way restrict any other member from doing any of the following regarding the citizenship or immigration status, lawful or unlawful, of any individual under 8 USC 1373. A, sending information to or requesting or receiving such information from federal immigration officials. B, maintaining such information in department records. C, exchanging such information with any other federal, state, or local government entity. 473.7.1, immigration detainers. No individual should be held basically solely on federal immigration detainer under 8 CFR 287.7 unless the person has been charged with a federal crime or detainer is accompanied by a warrant, a criminal warrant, affidavit of probable cause, or removal order. Notification to the federal authority issuing the detainer should be made prior to any release. That is primarily what encompasses the authority of the police department, which is very limited in regards to immigration policy. We cannot hold somebody without a criminal warrant, or there's, say for example, the DEA tells us there's probable cause for their arrest for a criminal offense. No different than we would do handle a situation currently with our state and local counterparts. So, well, I can't really take any questions on that since it's not an agenda item, but if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, please. And then if I may finish with my report out.
You may.
Memorial Day Parade is coming up on Monday. With all of our events, we start planning the day after the event has concluded. So this has been a year in the making, including several discussions, or planning meetings, and an upcoming tabletop exercise that we'll be doing related to reunification centers with department heads and other supervisory staff. So we're hoping for a very safe Memorial Day Parade coming next Monday. I wanted to mention just a quick mention about the weather recently that many of you experienced in one way or another. As you know, there was a lot of hail that came through town. I thought we were going to be hail-free, or I saw little small pea-sized hail at first, and it turned into golf ball-sized hail. Unfortunately, some of your city vehicles, including 2 of your squad cars and your brand-new electric vehicle squad car, did sustain some hail damage, and so we'll be looking at what's the proper way to address that. Do we let some of the small ones go and, to address the major damage that was done by this act of nature. But I also wanted to mention the fact that there were several of your employees, to include some in this room, not myself, whose personal vehicles were damaged because they were here at work. And so that's just worthy of mention too, of the service and sacrifice that some of your city employees do on a day-to-day basis. All right. And then a nod to hiring and a promo for our police officer vacancy position. That process closes next week. So we're hiring for lateral officers. Officers who are already certified as peace officers are encouraged to apply. We have just about a little over a dozen or so eligible candidates who've applied. We'd like to see that number grow, obviously, a little bit more, but we don't want folks to miss out. So if they're on the edge, or they have some questions, or they'd like to do a ride-along, please feel free to reach out to the police department to coordinate that. We've issued a conditional job offer for our dispatcher vacant position, so hopefully we'll be transitioning that to a full offer pretty soon here, contingent on some background and drug screen, the normal drug screening tests that we have to conduct. So that would be filled, and we'll be at full staff with dispatch. And then lastly, I'll mention the PFC, the Police and Fire Commission, convened this afternoon and formally approved the promotion of Lieutenant Knockreiner, who's in the back room, and Sergeant Ginter. That's it.
No going back now, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to again, to reiterate what the chief just said, we had a discussion about it because there were numerous people who were having events this summer who were wondering what the process was should immigration authorities or ICE appear. And we did cover it. This policy was discussed, I don't know how many months ago, but we thought it would be good. I wanted a refresher, and I'm grateful that the chief came tonight to give a refresher to know the policy. I believe.
No report, Mayor.
No report.
No report.
You
No-
sure?
Nothing going on.
I'm shocked.
So.
Okay. I have a few things tonight. One is, I'm sorry that he left already, but a big shout out to Alder Doug Wood, who was elected the chair of the MPO, which is a big deal. It doesn't surprise me. The MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, does the regional transportation planning, and as we all know, having worked with Doug for a long time, transit in any form, including sidewalks and bike ped plan, as well as his work on the MPO and with Madison has always been a passion of his. So, we were excited to hear that last week. Also, at the Clean Lakes Alliance breakfast last week, I signed on behalf of Monona to join what is known as the Renew the Blue Council. It's a new initiative to take action. We talked earlier tonight about the cleanliness of our lakes and the stormwater, but it's an initiative coming out of Clean Lakes Alliance to take action towards making our lakes healthier. So we've committed to that. That was one of those immediate approval things that it snuck up on us, and we needed to sign on at the breakfast. And so we've committed through the end of 25 and the remainder of this year, the focus of the council will be to develop specific goals and actions that each of us will take, and it will not cost us anything. So it's a few hours of my time and potentially staff time, literally like 2 meetings between now and the end of 25. And then depending on how we feel the value of those goals and actions result, we can decide whether or not we want to continue in 2026. But we're in good company because it includes, the council includes Madison, Dane County, Wisconsin DNR, the Department of Agriculture, the Ho-Chunk Nation, Capital Area Regional Planning Commission, Middleton, and Yahara Pride Farms. So that was the council, and we all signed on at the breakfast. I also wanted to mention that in discussion with both Public Works and the chief earlier today, that we made a decision to do 2 things related to the lake loop. The first one is, as you probably all know, Tony Watha Trail is in really bad shape. And actually just received texts from 2 residents in the last 4 days of people, literally people, they had they had cyclists go by and careen off their bikes in front of them while on Tony Watha. And, as you may recall, we patched Tony Watha. It's in the capital budget for 26 for major rebuild, including the water mains that need to be replaced. But given that we're coming up on high bike season, and just as one data point there, the Loop the Lake event that the Clean Lakes Alliance does has over 1,800 cyclists. So I talked to Dan, and to Brad, and as I said, to the chief today. And we're gonna do two things that are minuscule on budget compared to taking somebody away in an ambulance. And that is, they're gonna create some signage that to put on the entrances to Tony Watha that simply says rough roads, slow down, to sort of caution people that do go up on Tony Watha. And then we're also gonna do detour signs and take the lake loop back to Winnequa, which was the original loop. It was in fact the original loop. And it was Clean Lakes Alliance actually for their event originally that asked for the loop to change. But it was on Winnequa, so we're gonna put a detour on Winnequa, and so just a combination of the, as I said, the condition of Tony Watha coupled with the increase of cyclists, and then parked cars and walkers. I just think, we think it's a really wise thing. And that detour would essentially last for a minimum of 2 years, because assuming we, if in fact we approve the redo of Tony Watha, I know we've been kicking it down the road for a long time now. It'll be under construction all next year anyway, so they won't be able to use it. But we're gonna put up those detour signs and hopefully keep accidents at bay. So, those are my things for tonight. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.